Welcome to today's Tea Time audio story. It's time to slow down, take a deep breath, and enjoy a moment just for you. As you sip your favorite tea, let your mind drift into the world of stories, where imagination comes alive and anything is possible. Listening to audio stories isn't just entertaining, it's also a wonderful way to relax, spark creativity, and improve your English in a natural and enjoyable way. Stories have the power to transport us to far-off places, introduce us to new characters, and remind us of life's little lessons. So whether you're here to unwind, learn something new, or simply enjoy a quiet escape, this is your time. Get comfortable, let your worries melt away, and allow today's story to take you on a journey. Let the magic begin. The streets of Montmartre were just beginning to stir as the first rays of the morning sun cast a golden glow over the cobblestone paths. Paris had a way of waking up slowly, as if savoring the moment before the rush of the day began. Amidst the quiet hum of the city, a small bakery nestled at the corner of Rue des Abbesses had already come to life, filling the air with the intoxicating scent of fresh bread and warm pastries. Le Petit Délice, a quaint bakery with pastel blue shutters and an antique wooden sign, was a little piece of heaven for those who knew of it. Inside, Elise Moreau moved with the grace of someone who had found her true calling. With flour dust clinging to her apron and a smudge of chocolate on her cheek, she worked tirelessly, her hands moving skillfully as she kneaded dough, shaped croissants, and placed delicate tarts onto trays. Baking had always been more than just a profession for Elise. It was a love affair that began in her grandmother's tiny kitchen, where the warmth of an oven and the melody of laughter filled her childhood. Now, years later, that love was what kept her waking up at the crack of dawn, pouring her heart into every loaf and pastry she made. As she slid a fresh batch of pain au chocolat into the oven, the bell above the bakery door jingled, signaling the first customer of the day. "Bonjour, Elise," called out Madame Laurent, an elderly woman who never missed her morning visit. "Bonjour, Madame Laurent," Elise greeted with a warm smile, wiping her hands on her apron. "The usual." Madame Laurent nodded eagerly, her wrinkled hands reaching out for the warm baguette that Elise handed over. "You always know how to start my day, right, ma chérie?" Elise chuckled. "It's not just me, it's the magic of butter and flour." The two exchanged a few more pleasantries before the elderly woman shuffled out, her heart and hands full. Moments like these reminded Elise why she had chosen to stay in Paris instead of pursuing bigger ventures elsewhere. Her bakery was not just a place of business, it was a sanctuary of warmth and connection. But as the morning progressed, Elise's tranquil world was about to be disrupted in the most unexpected way. Across the city, in a high-rise glass building that stood in stark contrast to the charm of Montmartre, Adrienne Laurent was already deep in the whirlwind of corporate chaos. A senior executive at one of the most prestigious multinational companies in Paris, his life was a series of back-to-back meetings, high-stakes decisions, and little room for anything outside of work. Dressed impeccably in a tailored navy suit, Adrian moved through the office with an air of authority. His assistant hurried beside him, listing off his schedule for the day, but his mind was elsewhere. He had barely slept, and his morning coffee had done little to shake off the exhaustion that clung to him. By the time he finally escaped for a brief moment to grab a quick bite, he realized he had walked farther than intended. That was when he saw it. A small bakery, tucked away in a street that seemed untouched by time. The scent of fresh pastries beckoned him inside before he could second-guess his decision. The bell above the door chimed as Adrian stepped in, the warmth of the bakery instantly wrapping around him like a comforting embrace. Elise glanced up from behind the counter, momentarily surprised by the sight of the sharply dressed man who looked completely out of place in her humble bakery. His presence exuded something foreign, something that didn't belong in her world of flour-dusted counters and handwritten menus. "Bonjour," she greeted, wiping her hands on her apron. Adrian barely spared her a glance as he pulled out his phone, checking an incoming email. "Coffee. Black. And a croissant." Elise raised an eyebrow at the brusque request. Something about his demeanor irked her. She wasn't used to customers treating her bakery like a soulless cafe where they could bark orders. With deliberate slowness, she poured his coffee and placed a golden, flaky croissant onto a plate. As she slid it across the counter, she added, "Perhaps you'd enjoy it more if you actually looked at it instead of your phone." Adrian finally looked up, startled by her sharp tone. His eyes met hers, deep brown, warm, but with a spark of defiance. "I'm sorry," I said, Elise repeated, leaning slightly forward. "Food is meant to be enjoyed, monsieur. Not just consumed in haste." Adrian's lips twitched, caught between amusement and irritation. It had been a long time since someone had spoken to him like that. He took a sip of the coffee and picked up the croissant, reluctantly taking a bite. The moment the buttery pastry melted on his tongue, he paused. It was incredible. Elise smirked knowingly. "Better, isn't it?" Adrian exhaled, lowering his phone. "I'll admit, this is unexpectedly good." She crossed her arms. "My bakery isn't a place for unexpectedly good food. It's always good." Adrian studied her for a moment before letting out a soft chuckle. "Fair enough." For the first time in a long while, he slowed down. Just for a moment, amidst the scent of vanilla and cinnamon, he allowed himself to simply be. And Elise, despite herself, found that she didn't entirely mind this stranger in her bakery. Not yet, at least. Thank you for joining today's Tea Time story. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the world of imagination and storytelling. Whether it made you smile, sparked a new thought, or simply gave you a moment to relax, we're grateful to have shared this time with you. Thank you for listening and being part of our story time. Keep dreaming, keep imagining, and we'll see you again for another magical tale soon. Until next time, take care and happy listening.